Hi guys, my name is Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. Now last week in the video that I did on... What did I do it on? Following your dreams, that's right. I talked in... there was one point that I brought up in regards to disappointment. That was one of the negative aspects, one of the things that you're likely to run into that doesn't let up, that's a bit of a pain in the arse, that's a bit of a problem and can really wear you down. Now, I've talked about disappointment before in the past, but a lot of that has been more relationship focused than just general. And so I wanted to readdress this because there are a lot of things in terms of disappointment that can really crush you, really kill you in terms of like your drive, your want to move forward, your want to do things, your want to keep going and work hard on stuff. And, obviously doing that becomes, far more difficult overall when you've got these things hanging off you, when you've got all these disappointing events, these disappointing moments hanging off you that aren't as well resolved. Because disappointment tends to cascade. X didn't happen, which means that because X didn't happen, Y, Z, 1, 2, and 3 also won't happen, and all of those things meant something to you. But that first thing has caused disappointment, and that's demoralized you, demotivated you, caused you to kind of get stuck in a position that maybe you don't want to be in. That's maybe that little bit sad or that little bit annoying. But then, as a result of that, the other 5 points, Y, Z, 1, 2, and 3, are also now just sat there hanging off you. And all it would take is you to realize the impact of X causing those other things to cascade, causing those other things to be a problem for you, or unattainable now, potentially, then, you start to slow down even more, and all it takes is for those things to kind of hit the ground and get stuck somewhere, and then you are stuck. They anchor you. And in this particular situation, we don't want to be anchored. We don't want to be stuck down. We don't want to be held in place. That kind of sucks, generally speaking. So what we need to do is take a look at a few different things just to get us back on track, to deal with disappointment, to move past it as effectively as possible. Now, the first thing is obviously disappointment is a negative situation. It's a pretty miserable state of mind to be in, pretty miserable thing to experience. And so as a result, the first thing we need to do is just take that step back, as we do with so many other things that we talk about on this channel. Take that step back and find a way to not even necessarily become very positive again, but just bring yourself back to kind of reasonable baseline. Now, this can be doing anything. Going for a walk to clear your head, keeping a personal journal that I keep going on about over the last couple of weeks, listening to some of your favourite music, watching a happy movie, watching a sad movie, listening to some really depressing emo music, whatever, playing games, talking to friends, going out and doing stuff with friends, going and just relaxing somewhere, giving your pet a cuddle, whatever. There are so many different ways that you can find a positive moment. Go out for a meal just by yourself, just treat yourself to something, just to give you that little bit of extra self-care, that little bit of extra attention for yourself, to allow you to get your head into a better place, just to take some of the pressure off. It can be difficult to do, especially if the disappointment is huge, but getting yourself into that better state of mind so you can think around things is far better than wallowing in it. Now, what's the next thing that we need to do? Well, we need to pay attention to what we're actually caring about, because the goal, the overall thing that you want, may very well be kind of difficult to attain. Especially if something's just collapsed around you and you're feeling very disappointed about it. We talk about goals and objectives a lot on this channel in regards to kind of what we want, how we get there. But in this particular instance, it's usually because you've not achieved the goal that things have kind of broken down and now you're feeling disappointed and you're being negative. In which case, what do we do? Well, simply put, do you still have the desire, the will, the want to go and achieve that thing? Yeah? Do you want that new job? Do you want that new house? Do you want that new car? Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to do whatever? Yeah, whichever objective we're attaching it to here. If the goal has collapsed, if the goal has gone badly, if that next step that you were trying to take just collapsed and sucks balls because it's fallen to pieces and now you're stuck, do you still want that overall thing? Do you want that big idea, that big reward that you were aiming for? Yes? Right. In which case, aim for that. Attach yourself to that. It doesn't matter how you get there. In the mountain analogy that I use far too often, if we are climbing up a mountain path and there's an avalanche, yeah, we still want to get to the top, we're just going to have to take a different route. It might be a more dangerous route. It might be a more difficult route. It might be a plainly scary route. It might be fraught with obstacles and enemies and all kinds of hardship along the way. But it might be via that path, that different way, that we still get to the thing that we want, getting to the top of that mountain. So, just attach yourself to the thing that you want overall, that big desire, that big want, and not necessarily just to the next goal, the next step along. Because you're going to have some of those goals just not work out. It sucks, and it's a real shame, but it's one of those things. It's part of the reason why when I'm running people through the grow coaching methodology that we've also talked about on this channel before, it's why we sit down and we talk about the realism, why we address the opportunities. Yeah, realism, because we don't want people to think that there aren't going to be problems, that there aren't going to be kind of the real world bringing them back down when they're trying to climb higher and higher. An opportunity so that if something doesn't go well, that person, that client, that person just trying to do their best, trying to find what they want, they're going to have those different paths kind of laid out for them before they even pick one to try. So, we as coaches, people like me, we try to mitigate the amount of damage that kind of a big obstacle or a big failure will have by addressing these multiple paths, by addressing the reality of the situation. But obviously there are going to be curveballs that neither the coach nor the client are going to see at all. And so, there's always going to be those things. In which case, focus on the big thing, the big want, the big desire, that overarching thing that's brought you onto this journey in the first place. Focus on that, not on the immediate goal, not on the thing that's right in front of you. It's important to pay attention to it, it's important to go for it, but it's not important if it collapses and fails. There's always another way. Now, the next thing, and this is kind of what I was just alluding to in regards to the addressing reality as part of a normal kind of coaching method, is that we usually have a lot of things that we think the world, in our head, that we just think this is the way the world is, or this is the way the world should be. To ditch disappointment, to get past it, we also need to ditch the this is the way it should be kind of mental image of the world, because there is no should be, there is just is and isn't. If something is, then you can work with it. If something isn't, then you can either try and make it into something that is, or you can find that it's never going to be a thing and you just need to continue working with what is. There is no should be. The universe doesn't care about you, and I know that that's a potentially kind of grim, nihilistic way of thinking about it, but it's true. The universe doesn't care about you. The vast majority of people around you aren't necessarily going to care either. And so there is no should be, other than really the things that are going to absolutely scupper you, like getting yourself thrown in prison, getting yourself hurt, all that kind of stuff. And those are things that you should be. You should be a law-abiding citizen. You should be careful in maintaining your own health. But that's not the rest of the world. That's you. And you get to decide what you should be. Focus on yourself in that regard. Don't try and impose on the rest of the universe, because it won't work. You're too small. In which case, though, when it comes to, oh, this is the way that this should be, this is the way that that should be, once you've ditched that kind of discourse, if you ditch that kind of discourse, then all you are left with is exactly what's in front of you. The tools that you have, the resources that you have, the people around you. You have that finite amount of stuff that you can draw from. And you can either use that stuff to build more stuff for you to draw from, or you can use it straight away to build towards that thing you want. Don't let the oh, it should be this way, but then it isn't. That collapse, that realization is another place where disappointment comes from. Don't let that be the case. Shed those ideas of should be, and maybe think more along the lines of can it be? Because if it can be, then great, go make it that way. If it can't, then don't worry about it and move on to the next thing that will actually help you. Now, this one is a tough one, but it's something that relates to something else that I talk about a lot on the channel, and that is learning from the situation that you're in. You have to understand that even if something is bad, even if something is negative, even if something is sad and upsetting in various ways, disappointing, as said, that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. If it happens to be that way, then sure, it will suck, it will feel bad. But you have to realize that it's not just a terrible, terrible thing. It's a learning experience. It's not a setback. It's a chance to do better next time. Yeah? This is one of the things that I don't understand about certain managers in business, where they look at audits, especially internal audits, as terrible things that they just don't want. Because those are opportunities for you to learn, for you to see, for you to plan, for you to work forward to become better. Yeah, they're important checks that need to be undertaken. And yeah, they might take up a day. Yeah, they might be done by miserable people, potentially, depending on who you're working for and who their auditor is and all that kind of stuff. But either way, once you've got a report, you can sit down, go through it, remedy it, fix things, work harder. It's a shit day of going through paperwork and stuff with someone you might not like very much, all so that you come out better. It's that crap day that's the great learning experience. Yeah? And if every single bad thing that happens to you, every single disappointment, every single hardship is, again, something that you can just look at and learn from, then great, keep going, do more, fail more, suck as much as you want, as long as you come out the other side learning things from each time you get knocked down, each time you feel like crap because something hasn't gone your way. They are learning experiences. They are not purely roadblocks. But then the last thing, and this is something else that I talk about a fair amount on the channel, you are human. Congratulations, I suppose, maybe, sorta. But you are human. You are fallible. Your body will break. You are not omnipresent. You are not omnipotent. You are not in any way omnipresent. Did I say that? Anyway, you are inherently flawed. In which case, do your best. And that's all anyone can ask from you, including you. So if the source of your disappointment is you haven't managed to get somewhere, you haven't managed to do a thing, pat yourself on the back, go have a coffee, go have a warm bath, a shower or something like that, go and just chill out for an evening, and just let yourself do better tomorrow. Yeah, do the best you can. plainly, simply, only way that you can do it, because that's all anyone can expect from you. No one is perfect. Expecting perfection is entirely unreasonable. Anyone that tries to force you towards their idea of perfection is an arsehole and should not be put up with. In which case, focus on doing the best you can, try your hardest, but forgive yourself when something doesn't go your way. Learn from it, do better than the following day. Only compare yourself to you from the day before. Other people are a good benchmark for information, for seeing where limits should be, all that kind of thing. But when it comes to your own straight development, compare to you from yesterday. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on any other ways of dealing with disappointment, of tackling it, getting past it, and all that kind of thing. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the video later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you found this at all interesting or useful, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video later. Take care.